Hi guys, welcome back to another video, and this one is all about planning a photo shoot. Whether you're a band or solo artist, this is for you. I'm very excited about this one. Also, can I just say thank you to everyone who has subscribed, liked videos or commented. I'm so chuffed and I'm so glad that all this stuff is helping you and it is so appreciated, so thank you. Okay, let's dive right in. So when planning a photo shoot, step one is research. The most of your time should go into concept, development and planning. The photo shoot will be quick, so quick compared to all that stuff. So I would start off on Pinterest, as I mentioned in a previous video. If you do not have Pinterest, please get it. It is the most amazing tool for planning anything visual. You can have boards for your video themes or your photo shoot themes and your style, your shoes, anything. It is the best tool. So get Pinterest and get organizing your visual stuff. So I would start on Pinterest and just browse. Think of any theme that comes into your mind and get images around that theme, like cityscape or primary colors, anything that comes to mind that is a starting point. Also, in this research stage, I would just look at other photo shoots, as many as you can, and don't stay inside the box of bands that are your genre or even bands. I would look at wedding photos, ideally creative or unique wedding photos. I would look at portraits, I would look at school photos. You can find elements to take from these things and bring them to your own unique set of photos. And it's things like this that will make you stand out. And what I want to do with these videos is help artists to actually carve their own path, rather than thinking, oh, we're a punk band, so let's look at what punk bands do and do something like that. Record labels aren't looking for that. Managers aren't looking for that. Fans aren't even looking for that. They want to see you. Like, the only thing that you have is yourself, as cliche as that sounds. So you have to find and be the most you that you possibly can. And that's what I want to try and help you with in these videos. We got a bit deep there. Look at other magazine covers and editorials for ideas. So there is GQ, there is NME, there is Rolling Stone, there is Billboard. I would also go with the fashion ones as well. Look at Dazed and Confused, they have some really cool stuff, and Vogue. You never know where inspiration can come from. And in order to create something brand new and totally unique, you have to broaden your horizons when looking for inspiration. Have a session with your band, or if you're a solo artist, get some creative friends and look at all these covers, look at all the shoots, look at the editorials, and just be like, oh, I like that. Oh, I like that color. I like this element. I like this pose. Extract any elements you can from those things and just jot them down. And those notes that you make will be your starting point. And then have Pinterest up as well. And if you find an element, you can then delve deeper into that on Pinterest. And that should just get your research session going. So the second step after this research stage is to decide on a concept and develop it further. So hopefully by the end of the research, you should have some elements that you know you want to work with. Maybe you have a really unique and creative idea that you want to go with. So develop that further, do some testing. So test shoots are so important. I learned so much from test shoots, and so much changes after I've done a test shoot, just to do with logistics, just ideas, that new ideas come, old ideas don't work. It's really important to test shoot. So within this step as well is your location, because obviously you have to test shoot on location. A reminder here to check for permits if you're shooting in a location like a public place or some kind of attraction or venue. You may need a permit, so just make sure you check those rules as well. So find a venue and go there and test shoot. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be a dress rehearsal. You don't have to like worry or feel uncomfortable posing or whatever. Just literally go, take photos of the venue itself. Get photos of some of the band members in, just play about a bit. There's no pressure here. It's just testing the lighting, it's testing the location that you've picked. And yeah, just see how you feel. New ideas will probably come from this, and you'll probably find out other things that need to have some development or areas that need to be tweaked. So the third step is make sure it's on brand and make sure it's something unique. If you aren't aware yet of your brand and your aesthetic, then I've got a video on that I'm gonna link below and here somewhere. Go watch that first and develop that brand aesthetic and know what you're about before you do any photo shoots. That for me is so important, because otherwise you could do anything, whereas when you have your brand aesthetic, at least you have some starting point and some guidelines to stick to, and also a set of visual creative elements to always refer back to, and make sure those are then incorporated in any projects you do going forward. And I'm going to reinstate the fact, do not copy any other band. Do not do a classic this or a classic that. Find your own way, and that is why the concept and the planning and the research will take so long, because anyone can just whack out a photo that a million other bands have already done. So I'm gonna just talk about some examples that I think are really worth mentioning here, and hopefully will help you and give you some ideas. So this one is Melanie Martinez, and it's just, I really love how soft it is. The way she uses light, silhouette, smoke, it all just comes together so beautifully. So silhouettes and shadows is something that you can work with that is free and easy once you've done your test shoot. You can definitely play with like the times of the day, the daylight that you have, and yeah, any shadow silhouette things that you've got going on there. This one's pretty simple, but if you are really limited and with time and resources, just, jump. It just adds an element of fun and a bit more action than if you were just standing there. So just think about your movements and actions, as well as you don't have to be stationary. And obviously you'd have to work with a photographer for this, because it's a bit more, you would need someone who knows what they're doing with a camera, but it's definitely something worth exploring if your resources are limited. So this one comes across really DIY, quite punk and alternative, but it's still so creative. Just work with water and light. Like, they're just basic elements of the earth, but you can really get creative with even the most basic things. So yeah, jumping and movement, light, shadow, water. So Harry Styles is one that I know, again, has kept coming up, but he's really good at the creative stuff, or his team are amazing at the creative stuff. He always uses weird angles, really unusual, usually unflattering to the average person. But I just wanted to give an example of how just a different camera angle can alter a shot an incredible amount. So if you look at his recent album shots as well, they're really unflattering if a normal person was in a photo like that, but he really makes it work, and it's really become one of his visual elements that is consistent throughout all his stuff. So have a play with angles, and again, this is the kind of thing that you can do on your test shoot. Play with angles, play with lighting, play with shadows. Here's another one, so simple, absolutely no props. Don't even need a location, just need a white wall. It's just a little bit different from like the average standing there or sitting there awkwardly. If you feel uncomfortable in front of a camera, then do not pose awkwardly. Find a way around it, like something like this, or using action will definitely help you with that. There's no point taking photos if you feel uncomfortable, because it will show. So yeah, focus on those things, action, and then something like this that means that you are forced to sort of be in a certain way, and it should make you feel relaxed a little bit more than if you were sort of just, you know, pissing. This is also a great one. Oh my God, there's so many, guys. You've got to do your research here. There is so many amazing photos, and just that are so simple as well. You don't need anything. You don't have to spend any money. This is an example of a pose that is so creative, and if you are uncomfortable with your face being on camera or anything, then be the one that's facing away. And obviously don't replicate this. Don't just reenact this one, but it's just, it's there for an idea. It's just think creatively with poses, like you can do anything. Remember, you can do anything. Another one combining obviously an awesome pose and underwater just works so well. Well done, guys. Okay, so the 1975 have come up quite a lot, I apologize. It's just because they have such a good creative team, and I know I can always go to them for amazing examples. So this one is interesting because usually the composition is so important, and I know it's important, and a lot of photographers will reinstate that to have levels is great, and a depth as well in a photo. You don't just want everyone standing in a line. But this is just an example of how well that actually can work, and if you tweak a couple of little elements, that can be a really creative and great photo. So for me, what works here is, and I'm gonna have to try and do this mirror image. On the left, he's got his legs slightly further apart, which stops it being fully symmetrical. So if you look at all their legs, it's not a symmetrical shot. It's basically those really subtle differences that give it some depth. So you can look at their legs and how they're placed, so they're all different and it's not symmetrical. Then you can look at their arms. So the cardigan hanging creates another kind of depth here. And then you've got three completely different poses with the arms. And then the ears also create a bit of more of this angle. I hope that makes sense. It's basically, you don't want everyone to look uniform like an army. It's It's just finding those, and in this case it's very subtle differences, but those differences are what make it such a good photo. And if your brand is maybe a bit more understated and a bit more subtle in those areas, then things like this can really help you. Also, the choice of outfits here, I'm going to come on to outfits, but the choice of outfits here is great because again, they are all completely different and they all have different sort of accent colors, but it just works beautifully together. And I know that this was a very big creative team that did this, but I'm just trying to inspire you to think like this as well and just work in that way. Okay, I need to go back to my notes now. Okay, so next, plan outfits. Now I have just done a video on this, so I'll link that below and up here somewhere, about finding your style and your image in regards to the fashion side of things. This will be more relevant for some artists than others, but everyone should give it some consideration if you do want to be really successful in the music business. Obviously, most successful artists will have a stylist who specializes in just that part of it. So if you can just have a basic understanding of that and how you work and what you like, then that will really help you going forward. And obviously for a photo shoot, the outfits are a pretty important factor. So it's good to have an understanding of your own style before you then choose outfits for a shoot. And my tips here would just be, do not match, unless I guess there could be concepts where matching works, but I would generally don't match. All have your own individual outfits that suit you and your style, but tie them together. And that will totally depend on the concept as well, because if you've got a very basic concept with very subtle poses like that last photo, then you can definitely play more with outfits, with textures and with colors. If you have got a really crazy concept and lots of props and a busy location, then you can work with a more understated outfit. Obviously this is all brand dependent, so I can only give rough guidelines. If you want specific help for your own outfits and your own situation, then just leave me a comment and I will try to answer and help as much as possible. Okay, 5, remember that natural lighting is your friend. Even if you are at a stage where you can only get a friend to take photos on an iPhone for you, you can get, if you've got the latest iPhone, it is really good. And with natural daylight and some thought and someone who is good at the basic elements of photography, you can get some really good shots. So try to pick a location, obviously either outside or a location with really good natural light. And if you can add any lamps, any forms of light will help you, unless you're working with shadows, and that's a whole different ball game. But I think playing around with where the sun is and lights, you can totally get that. You can totally figure that out if that's something you wanted to do. And 6, and the last thing I just wanted to say is remember that composition is everything. So don't worry if you don't have a DSLR or you don't have enough money to pay a photographer. Obviously, yes, that is ideal, and I would always recommend investing in the visual areas of branding because obviously that's what I do and I see the importance of it. But I totally understand that at the beginning or when you're not getting a high return for your music yet, then it is not worth spending a lot. So do what you can with the basic equipment, natural daylight, a good phone if that's all you've got, ideally some kind of camera, obviously a professional photographer if you can afford it, and just make sure you really, really nail the composition and the concept, and that will take you very far. If you did want to get label attention, then they're going to be able to look past your shoddy equipment and they're going to look at what you can do creatively, and it's the same with the music. Obviously they're going to see real potential with you. So yeah, that would be my advice. I hope that's helpful. Please let me know if you have any questions or thoughts and let me know in the comments, and thank you for watching. Bye, see you next time.